Good morning, Elmira. This is an iconic picture of Tommy Hilfiger in front of the People's Place in Elmira, New York. My name is J.D. Isles, and of course, this is Hidden Landmarks. Hidden Landmarks is the show that I do that talks about the history of Elmira, Corning, and the Finger Lakes. And today we're going to be talking about People's Place, which was a hippie clothing store in 1970s Elmira. So this is one of those odd stories. So I'm a transplant to the area. I've only been living in the area for about 5 years. Love history though, and I've loved digging into all of the great history we have in this area. But of course, I never went to People's Place, and of course you can't, because right now the first arena is sitting on top of where the People's Place was. So it's not like I can even go and be in the same building. So this is one of these odd stories I feel a little unplugged from, but I am very excited about talking about this today with all of you. So we're going back to the 1970s. The 1970s had a specific style and look and flair. However, I'm not going to be assaulting your senses today with this kind of color. Believe it or not, we're going to talk about the People's Place in mostly black and white. I do want to mention, I want all of you folks to go crazy with the comments, both during the broadcast and after when you're watching it later on. I want to hear about all of your amazing memories of this iconic store in Elmira. And of course there were other locations. At one time the People's Place actually had as many as 10 locations. But before we get into that, I do want to mention Hidden Landmarks is just about to restart our newsletter. It's going to go out every single month, and there's going to be all kinds of good things in it, including an episode guide of all of the episodes that I've shot. So if you want that, just say newsletter in the comments, and through the magic of the internet, I will reach out to you and get your email address and all of that good stuff. Okay, so let's talk about People's Place. Of course, if you live in Elmira, if you ever lived in Elmira, it's almost impossible not to know that Tommy Hilfiger is from Elmira. In fact, he was just here, I think it was last weekend, and he had dinner at Libs and Moretti's. So he is a local icon. Let's look at the Wikipedia entry about Tommy. Thomas Jacob Hilfiger, born March 24th, 1951. He is the principal fashion designer right now at Tommy Hilfiger Corporation. That's so weird. He works for a company that has the same name as he does. I mean, what are the chances? So, according to Wikipedia, it says that Tommy got his start when he opened a jeans and fashion show jeans and fashion store in Elmira, New York, called the People's Place. It says, he basically, after that, he began designing preppy clothing for his own menswear line in 1980, and then the company later expanded into women's fashions as well. And of course, the rest is history. He is an iconic presence in the fashion world, but he started with the People's Place. And again, this is the Wikipedia entry. I know you can't read this. I'm going to read it for you. He spent the summer of 1969 working in a clothing store in Cape Cod. I actually think that's wrong. I think it was more like 68. And afterwards, he decided to use his life savings of $150, which is more or less true, to open a clothing store in 1971. That's actually incorrect. As far as I can tell, People's Place opened in 1969. The first store was located in downtown Elmira. where the first arena is right now. The actual address was 167 North Main Street. Now this picture would have been taken in 1974. This is Tommy actually standing in front of the second People's Place location in Elmira wearing a very snazzy sheepskin coat. Now everyone knows this picture. This is a very well-known picture. I'm going to show you a picture that almost no one knows. In fact, I'm not even sure if Tommy himself has ever seen this picture. This is a picture from the first week of the store. This was taken by the person who gave it to me. It was taken by Clark Cohn. And I also want to thank Sherry Mayer for making me realize this picture even existed. In this picture, we have Terry Cohn, who was hired by Tommy Hilfiger. This is a very young Tommy, to come in and build clothing racks for the store. So this picture may have actually been taken even before the store opened. And keep in mind, in this picture, Tommy is 18 years old. Also in the picture, Shelley Huff and Bobby Reynolds as well. And Bobby's actually going to pop up again during this broadcast. But this is a very early picture of getting the store ready to open, I think. So, all right. So, this is a lot of today's story, we're going to go in through the world of the newspaper. So, a lot of this is going to be Star Gazette material. January 18th, 1970, there was a feature story on the People's Place, and at this point, the store had already opened. So that's how I know that they would have started this in 1969 as opposed to 71, that Wikipedia says. And it basically talks about the three founders, Larry Sturmerman, of course, Tommy Hilfiger, and John Allen. And actually, we have a picture of all three of them here. So here's Larry, here's Tommy, and here's John. But going back for a second, this article did a good job of summing up all of the major themes, not only in the opening of the People's Place, but in a lot of ways, themes that kind of followed Tommy and embraced him for his entire life. So, we're talking about, three young people got together, pooled $400, and just opened the store. And they opened the store, against the kind of consumer establishment, the fathers of industry type establishment. So, it says here, despite their profit-making venture, the long-haired, mod-dressed youth say they have not joined the establishment, nor are they fighting it. So they really realized what they were doing was very counterculture. They were getting styles and accessories from the 70s and bringing them into Elmira, New York. So they were really setting trends. They were trendsetters. I mean, quite honestly, so I was born in 1969. I know that when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, I was not wearing blue jeans. I was going to school in corduroy. Thank God we're out of corduroy. But even blue jeans at this point would have been very radical, fashion-wise. So it says right here, who would buy a pair of striped bell-bottoms, Peter Fonda glasses, white lace body shirts, flutes, or strobe candles? I certainly would, and a lot of people did. They did extremely well during the first year of the store, and that success just kept building on itself. Here is something that newspapers used to do back in the 60s and 70s. They would get large numbers of store owners. In this case, they were calling them the value makers, and they would have everybody pool together to do one large full-page ad, a lot like what the Chamber of Commerce does now, and certainly the Chamber of Commerce existed at that point, I think. So here's the People's Place, right up there with Rosenbaum's and Rite Aid and all the things you would expect to see. And here is the establishment they were talking about. Here is, what the majority of store owners looked like. But here's what a store owner from the People's Place looked like. This, of course, is, hold on just one second. This is John Allen, I believe, in this picture. And you can see we have long hair, only long-haired person in the picture. And I think he's wearing the same tie. So I'm pretty sure this is John Allen breaking into this very established commercial group in Elmira, New York. Advertisements. So this is a very early advertisement for the People's Place in the Star-Gazette. This was June 1970, so this is probably less than a year in. And we see a very early version of their logo. This might be lettering just kind of picked at random because it is groovy looking. And one of the things that they have is they have a list of, a lot of the things that they sold. And they're selling, predominantly bell-bottoms, jeans of all kinds. They're selling coats, jumpers, beads, candles, incense. Incense, by the way, got rid of a smell of a certain substance that wasn't incense. A lot of leather goods, underground albums. So really, this is the hippie counterculture. This is where you go to buy all of that, and it was wildly popular and it was wildly successful. I just had to point this out because this is going to come up in a couple minutes here. This is another one of the large ads for the value makers. Again, here's the People Place listed right next to Mr. Panosian's store, right next to Rosenbaum's, and everything else. I do love the fact that people are coming together. The shop owners of Elmira are all working together as a coordinated unit. They had something called Touchdown Days, which was themed around high school and football and homecoming and everything else, and that's fantastic. I would like to be in the room when they were trying to convince Chet Kaniski to put this helmet on, to take this picture so he could be with these guys. Come on, Chet, just put the helmet on. Come on, it'll be great. I'm not putting the helmet on. Come on, Chet, just put the helmet on for the picture. So People's Place obviously sold jeans, obviously sold everything 70s and 60s. But they also had suits. They also had coats. They had a wide variety. And the first purchase that the People's Place did was, Tommy and one of the other partners took $150, ran to New York City, bought, I think it was 40 pairs of jeans, and then just came back and sold them out of their trunk. So this is what they were doing. They were going out, they were buying, they were borrowing, assembling it all in the store, and creating a fashion trend. Oh, one thing I want to point out, it's really clever where they ended up on Main Street, and I'm sure it was by accident. Their store was underground. And of course, the whole movement was underground. But their store was underground. You had to go underground to get in the store. I love that. So, here's an ad for jeans. Landlubber Jeans, which was a very popular brand during the 70s. So here is the earliest version of the traditional People's Place logo that kind of everybody knows right now. In earlier ads, you can see that the typography for the People's Place is here. But December 1971 is the first time I really find this very iconic logo. And this is a very clever logo. This is an excellent piece of branding because it has a very clear message. And roughly translated, this is, don't be a conforming paper doll. Don't be this person, or this person when you could come to the People's Place and be this person. And that is just very clever. Established 1969, People's Place. Keep in mind, these were guys that were 17 and 18 years old. These were entrepreneurs. You hear a lot about entrepreneurs now, especially with the dot-com revolution and everything else. Entrepreneurs were few and far between. It wasn't such a cultural mainstay as it is now back when they did it. So here's one other picture of the value makers, and I think this is from '74, but I just want to point out, here's Larry Sturberman from the People's Place. So they had broken into this, and it's even the little picture of his head inside, what is obviously People's Place threads. Here's just another very early picture of both Tommy and Bob Reynolds, who we saw in that early picture of them putting together clothing racks for the store. And this is just, this is an advertisement talking about some of the other things they sold, and they sold a lot of leather goods. They sold albums. Apparently, after they had moved upstairs, they even had concerts in the basement. I don't necessarily know if that's true, but that's one of the things that I read. And then, of course, we had the flood of '72. So June 23rd, 1972, Tommy and Larry noticed that, of course, the river was getting very, very high, and they enlisted the help of a lot of their friends, drove down to the store, went down into the basement, because remember, they're underground, got everything they could, and they moved it up to the highest point in the building. And after the flood, during the cleanup, they were one of the only clothing stores that was still in operation. At least that's the way the story is told. But, that was a big key to their success as well. So this picture, in some ways, is kind of a victory lap. Because, remember, this picture was taken in 1974. So this is the post-flood picture. They survived. They made it. There were businesses that didn't make it through the flood. Now, it isn't all rosy. At the height, the People's Place had 10 stores. It seems like they averaged about 4 or 5 stores at any one time. And this was a short period of time. This was less than 10 years. And I've read interviews with Tommy Hilfiger where he freely admits that maybe the bookkeeping wasn't the strongest part of their business. So unfortunately, back in 1977, they did file for bankruptcy, and the stores did, of course, close because there are none currently. But, the thing I really want people to take away from this is here's 3 entrepreneurs that started a cultural movement within Elmira, New York, on a shoestring, on a dime, very, very young. And not only did it have tremendous impact here in Elmira, it launched a national and worldwide clothing brand. So this is a success story for the ages. This is that American dream thing they're always talking about. Now, I would like to ask you for some help, and the Chemung County Historical Society would like to ask you for some help. We are doing a call out for artifacts. We're looking for people that have anything People's Place in their house that they're not necessarily using. We would love to build up the museum's collection of People's Place memorabilia, clothing, etc. I'm going to show you what they have currently, and it's not a lot of stuff. They have a couple of advertisements. They have a number of these shopping bags. Don't not call if you have shopping bags, but they have these. We're looking for some other things. This is a great piece. This is actually a suit jacket that's currently in the collection. So if you have some of those landlubber jeans that you bought at the People's Place back in the 70s, please give them a call. And the person you want to call is Erin Doan. I'm going to flash her information up here in a second. If you have a receipt from the People's Place, if you have matches for the People's Place, I'm pretty sure they had matches. If you have anything that relates to the People's Place, call the museum, let them know what you have, and it would be great if you donated it, because we really want this so that this could be displayed in a collection someday. Another thing that the museum has is some pictures from a fashion show. I don't know where the fashion show was, but obviously showing the styles of the day. And I don't know if this is true, but wouldn't this be great if this was Tommy? Wouldn't this be terrific? Again, I don't know if it is, but it's a pretty safe guess. So call out for artifacts if you have anything, if you have photos from inside the store or outside of the store. That's one of the things that I found almost impossible to find for putting this piece together. Please call the museum. You want to call Erin Doan. Here's the phone number. Here's the email address. But realistically, just Google Chemung County Historical Society and please get in touch. We would really appreciate it. That's basically it. If you want the newsletter, the monthly newsletter, just put newsletter in the comments. I want to thank everybody for listening to me today. Thank everybody for the tremendous support. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, please feel free to reach out. I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.